My beloved child, listen very carefully, because what Archangel Michael is revealing today, December 20th, is not symbolic, it is not poetic, and it is absolutely not a joke. This is a warning wrapped in mercy, a moment frozen in time where heaven pauses and says, "You have been warned." What is happening right now around you, especially concerning your person, is far more serious than you realize. And if you turn away from this message too soon, you may miss the very clue that explains everything you've been sensing but couldn't name. Archangel Michael steps forward with his sword not raised in anger, but planted firmly in truth. He says there is a decision already in motion. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. December 20th marks a spiritual line in the sand. Something has crossed from thought into action, from secret contemplation into irreversible movement. And yes, this is about your person, the one you feel connected to, the one who keeps showing up in your spirit when you least expect it. You felt it, haven't you? That strange shift, the silence that feels louder than words, the distance that doesn't make sense logically, but feels heavy emotionally. Archangel Michael says this is because your person is walking away from everything they once relied on. Old comforts, old identities, old expectations, even people who once had power over them. And they are doing it for a future that terrifies them almost as much as it excites them. But hear this clearly. This warning is not about fear. It is about preparation. Archangel Michael reveals that your person has been standing at a crossroads for a long time, pretending they were just resting, pretending they needed more time, pretending nothing had changed. But heaven saw the internal collapse long before the external movement. What you are witnessing now is not sudden. It is the final stage of a battle that has been raging inside them for months, even years. This is why Archangel Michael says, this is not a joke. Because some people think divine messages are dramatic stories meant to entertain. This one is not. This one is a notice, a spiritual alert, a final checkpoint before consequences, both good and difficult, are released. Your person is not just walking away from a situation. They are walking away from a version of themselves that can no longer survive where they are going, and that future they are choosing. It involves a truth they can no longer run from, a calling they tried to ignore, a connection they tried to replace, deny, or bury. Archangel Michael shows me that part of the reason this warning is necessary is because you are still underestimating your role in this story. You think this is happening to you, when in reality, something is aligning through you. Heaven has been using your prayers, your tears, your silence, and even your confusion as instruments. And now the shift has reached the point where neutrality is no longer possible. Here is where the warning becomes personal. Archangel Michael says, do not chase, do not beg, do not try to control the outcome. Because the moment you interfere emotionally with what is being spiritually dismantled, you delay the clarity that is meant to come. Your person must walk away on their own feet, not dragged by guilt or pushed by pressure. This is hard, because part of you wants answers right now. You want to know who they are walking toward, what this future looks like, whether you are included or excluded. But Archangel Michael says the reason details are hidden is because your peace comes before your information. If you knew too much too soon, you would act from anxiety instead of alignment. And listen closely to this next part, because this is where many people misunderstand the message. Walking away does not always mean abandonment. Sometimes it means severing what cannot come with them. Sometimes it means burning bridges that were built on fear, obligation, or false loyalty. Sometimes it means choosing a future that looks selfish to the world, but obedient in the spirit. Archangel Michael is very clear. Your person has been warned multiple times internally. Through dreams, through restlessness, through sudden dissatisfaction with things that once made sense. December 20th is simply the day when the internal warning becomes external movement. You were never meant to stop this process. You were meant to survive it with your faith intact. And this is why Archangel Michael stands so close right now. His presence is protection, not punishment. He is guarding you from misinterpreting silence as rejection and distance as dismissal. What looks like loss may actually be repositioning. Beloved one, as this message unfolds, Archangel Michael asks you to steady your heart, because the truth behind this walking away is deeper than surface appearances. What you are seeing now is only the echo of a decision that has already been sealed in the spirit. Your person did not wake up one morning and choose disruption. This choice was forged through sleepless nights, silent battles, and a growing pressure they could no longer ignore. Archangel Michael reveals that the environment around them had become spiritually suffocating. What once felt safe began to feel like a cage, and what once felt familiar started to feel like betrayal to their own soul. This is why the warning was issued with such firmness. Heaven does not speak this way casually. When Archangel Michael says, "You have been warned," it means a threshold has been crossed. Your person has been tolerating things they were never meant to carry. Expectations that drained them. Roles that demanded performance instead of authenticity. Relationships that survived on habit rather than truth. And now, something inside them has finally said, enough. Not out of rebellion, but out of survival. You must understand this clearly. Walking away does not mean they have everything figured out. In fact, Archangel Michael shows that they are stepping into uncertainty with trembling hands. The future they are choosing is not fully formed yet. It is more like a calling than a plan, a direction rather than a destination. This is why their behavior may feel confusing, inconsistent, or emotionally distant. They are letting go before they fully know what they are holding onto. Archangel Michael also reveals that part of the warning is for you, not to prepare you for loss, but to prepare you for truth. There is a temptation right now to fill in the blanks with fear, to assume the worst, to replay old wounds and convince yourself that history is repeating. But this is not a cycle repeating, this is a pattern breaking. And pattern breaking moments always feel chaotic before they feel clear. Here is also something important you need to hear about timing. December 20th is not random. It marks a moment when delays expire, where grace shifts into action, where internal negotiations end. Your person has reached the limit of postponement. Even if they wanted to stay the same, they no longer can. Archangel Michael says the old structure around them has lost divine support. It cannot stand, no matter how hard they try to prop it up. This is why you may sense urgency in the energy. Conversations feel heavier. Decisions feel sharper. Even silence feels charged. It is because heaven is accelerating what has already been decided. And here is the part that may surprise you. This acceleration is not meant to harm you. It is meant to free both of you from prolonged confusion. Archangel Michael wants you to release the idea that you must decode every sign right now. You are not being tested on how quickly you understand. You are being invited to trust. Trust that what is leaving your life is not stealing from you. Trust that what is shaking is not punishment. Trust that what feels unstable is actually being restructured at a high level. And listen carefully, because this matters. You not measure your worth by whether your person stays or goes in this moment. Their movement is about their obedience, not your value. The warning was not given because you are in danger of being abandoned. It was given because you are in danger of misinterpreting transformation as rejection. Archangel Michael stands as a reminder that not every departure is permanent, and not every return looks the same as before. Sometimes distance is required for truth to surface. Sometimes separation is the only way deception can no longer survive. And sometimes the bravest thing a soul can do is walk away from everything familiar to finally become who they were created to be. Before this message goes any deeper, pause for a moment and anchor yourself here. If these words are resonating, if you feel this stirring in your spirit, take a second to interact with this message. Like this video so it reaches those who are also standing at a crossroads. Share it with someone who has been sensing a shift but cannot explain it. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing clarity over fear. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel and stay connected, because these messages are unfolding step by step, exactly as heaven is releasing them. My precious one, Archangel Michael draws even closer now, because what is being revealed in this moment is delicate, sacred, and easily misunderstood if heard through fear instead of discernment. He says the future your person is walking toward is not built on impulse or fantasy. It is being constructed through divine confrontation. Everything false is being exposed, not to shame them, but to strip away what was never aligned. This is why the warning carried such weight. Heaven is not threatening, heaven is clarifying. Archangel Michael shows that your person reached a moment where pretending became more exhausting than change. They could no longer maintain appearances while their inner world was collapsing. They smiled in public and battled in private. They fulfilled obligations while silently grieving the life they felt slipping away from their hands. And now, the mask is cracked. What you are witnessing is the release of a long-suppressed truth. Here is something crucial you must understand. This walking away is not just from people or places. It is from agreements they made out of fear, promises spoken without conviction, paths chosen to please others while betraying themselves. Archangel Michael says these agreements were never sealed in heaven, only tolerated on earth. And now, tolerance has expired. You may be wondering why this process feels so intense for you, why your emotions feel amplified, why memories resurface unexpectedly, why your spirit feels alert, almost restless. Archangel Michael explains that you are spiritually connected to this shift, not because you are meant to fix it, but because your life intersects with the outcome. You are not an observer. You are part of the equation. But do not mistake this connection for responsibility. You are not accountable for their courage. You are not required to guide their steps. Your role right now is stillness. Stillness is not passivity. It is power under control. When you remain grounded, you allow truth to rise without distortion. Archangel Michael also addresses the question burning quietly in your heart. Is this future about someone else? Is there another person? The answer is not as simple as yes or no. What he reveals is this: your person is choosing alignment over attachment. They are not running toward a replacement. They are running away from misalignment. Any relationship, situation, or identity that cannot survive truth will fall away naturally. Nothing authentic will be lost in this process. This is why the warning was necessary. Without it, you might have assumed the worst and reacted from old wounds. You might have closed your heart prematurely, or spoken words that cannot be retrieved. Archangel Michael intervened to slow you down, to remind you that not everything that feels like loss is loss. Some endings are rescue missions disguised as departures. There is also a deeper layer here. Archangel Michael shows that once your person steps fully into this future, They will no longer be able to pretend. Your life will demand honesty. Half-truths will become uncomfortable. Double lives will collapse. And this is why some people around them will resist this change. Not everyone benefits when truth takes over. If at any point you feel tempted to pull back emotionally, to protect yourself by disconnecting entirely, pause. Protection does not always mean withdrawal. Sometimes it means observation without judgment. Sometimes it means allowing space without resentment. You are being asked to mature beyond reaction and step into discernment. And listen closely now, because this is important. Do not rush the outcome in your mind. Do not write the ending before the story completes its work. Archangel Michael says the next phase depends on obedience, not assumption. What is meant to return will return transformed. What is meant to leave will leave cleanly. Either way, you will not be diminished. Hold on for what comes next, because the next revelation changes how you understand your own position in this story, and once you see it, everything begins to make sense. Type "I receive divine clarity" in the comments if this message is speaking directly to your spirit. Blessing code 1144 has just been released over your life. Before this moment passes, hear this invitation flowing directly from the heart of this message. As this truth exposes what must fall and protects what must remain, I feel led to speak to those who sense the weight of this calling. When you sow into this mission through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal link placed in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are fueling a river of light that reaches souls standing at the same crossroads you are facing right now. The Lord is saying that every seed released in obedience becomes oil for another lamp that was about to go dark. This is not charity. This is alignment. I feel the Spirit urging those who understand the urgency of this warning to act now, because delayed obedience can miss a divine window. As you give, I declare that clarity will chase you, peace will guard you, and provision will answer you. Do it now, and let heaven record your obedience as part of this unfolding testimony. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael speaks again with a tone that is steady, protective, and unmistakably intentional. He says that now is the moment when confusion must no longer lead your decisions. The warning you received was not meant to keep you in suspense, but to awaken your discernment. What unfolds next is about positioning. Not just your person's position, but yours as well. Because when one life shifts under divine instruction, every connected destiny feels the movement. Archangel Michael reveals that after a soul chooses to walk away from misalignment, there is always a quiet in-between phase. This is the space where old patterns attempt to reassert themselves, where doubts whisper with this necessary, where memories try to soften the reality of why the departure happened in the first place. Your person is standing in that space right now, and this is why their energy may feel inconsistent. One moment resolved, the next moment nostalgic. One moment courageous, the next moment withdrawn. This does not mean they are reversing their decision. It means they are detoxing from familiarity. Familiarity is powerful. It convinces people to stay where they are no longer growing. It wraps stagnation in comfort and calls it loyalty. Archangel Michael says your person is learning the difference between faithfulness and fear. They are realizing that staying in what is familiar is not the same as staying in what is right. This realization is not gentle. It demands honesty they can no longer avoid. For you, this phase requires restraint. The temptation to reach out, to ask for reassurance, to seek confirmation will rise. But Archangel Michael cautions that premature contact can blur what is becoming clear. This does not mean silence forever. It means wisdom for now. There is a difference between connection and interference. You are being trained to recognize it. Another truth is being revealed here. Your person is shedding an identity that was shaped by survival, not purpose. For a long time, they learned how to adapt instead of how to align. They became good at managing expectations instead of honoring conviction. This walking away is not just from external circumstances. It is from internal compromise. And internal compromise cannot coexist with a future that is calling them forward. Archangel Michael also shows that during this in-between phase, testing occurs. Not from God, but from unresolved attachments. People may suddenly reach out. Opportunities may reappear. Old doors may crack open just enough to test their resolve. This is not coincidence. This is confirmation. What they choose in these moments will determine how clean the transition truly is. You may notice that as they walk through this testing, your own clarity begins to sharpen. Things you once tolerated emotionally now feel misaligned. Conversations that once felt hopeful now feel hollow. This is not bitterness. This is maturity. You are no longer willing to accept half-presence or conditional truth. And this shift within you is just as important as the shift within them. Archangel Michael wants you to know that your growth has not been paused while you waited. You have been strengthened quietly. Your discernment has deepened. Your boundaries have matured. And now, you are capable of standing in truth without losing compassion. That is not something you could have done before this season. There is also a reassurance being released. No decision made in obedience will lead to emptiness. Whether paths converge or diverge, heaven does not waste surrender. If alignment leads to reunion, it will be different, clearer, more honest, more stable. If alignment leads to separation, it will be peaceful, complete, without lingering questions. Either way, the outcome will not be confusion. Archangel Michael stands firm in this promise. The warning was not the beginning of loss. It was the beginning of order. Order in emotions. Order in direction. Order in identity. What feels like unraveling is actually realignment at a level you could not see before. Let your heart stay open, but your footing stay firm. You are not meant to chase clarity. It is moving toward you. And as this unfolds, you will recognize the moment when uncertainty lifts and truth settles like peace rather than anxiety. Remain here, because the next revelation exposes what happens when this process reaches completion, and how you will know when the season has truly shifted. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now reveals what happens when the shaking slows and the dust begins to settle. This is the phase many people misunderstand, because it is quieter than the warning, less dramatic than the walking away, and yet far more decisive. This is the moment when truth stops arguing and starts standing. Your person is approaching this threshold, and the energy around you is shifting because completion is near. Archangel Michael explains that after a soul walks away from misalignment, there comes a moment of reckoning with self. Not with others, not with circumstances, but with the mirror of identity. This is where excuses fall apart. This is where blaming the past no longer works. Your person is being asked one simple but piercing question. Who are you when no one is telling you who to be? This question carries weight, and it cannot be answered quickly. You may notice that during this time, your person becomes more inward, less reactive, less defensive. This is not withdrawal, it is integration. They are gathering the fragments of who they were and deciding what can remain and what must be released. Archangel Michael says this is holy work. Painful, yes, but sacred. Because identity built on truth can withstand pressure, while identity built on approval always collapses. For you, This phase is about recognition. You are beginning to see patterns clearly now, without romanticizing them. Things that once confused you now make sense. Not because you have all the answers, but because you finally understand the questions. You are no longer asking, "Why am I not enough?" You are asking, "Why did I accept less than clarity for so long?" That shift alone signals growth. Archangel Michael wants you to understand something important. When clarity arrives, it does not rush. It settles. It feels steady rather than urgent. If you feel frantic, pressured, or desperate for resolution, that is not clarity speaking. That is fear losing its grip. True clarity brings calm, even when the outcome is uncertain. This is why you are being asked to remain grounded. The temptation at this stage is to force a conclusion, to demand conversations, to seek closure before it naturally forms. But Archangel Michael cautions that forced endings create lingering echoes. Natural endings bring peace. Let the process finish its work. Another layer is being revealed now. Your person's future is not just about where they go, but about how they show up. The walking away was necessary to reset their posture. No more hiding behind roles. No more shrinking to keep peace. No more delaying truth to avoid discomfort. The future they are stepping into demands presence, honesty, and accountability. Anything less will not survive there. You may be wondering where you stand in all of this. Archangel Michael says you are not on trial. You are not being evaluated. You are being protected from repeating an old version of connection that could not sustain what is coming. Whether your paths realign or not, you will not be asked to abandon yourself to make it work. That season is over. There is also a release happening within you. Old emotional contracts are dissolving. The need to be chosen at the cost of your peace is fading. The urge to explain yourself endlessly is loosening its grip. This is not hardness of heart. This is self-respect taking root. And Archangel Michael smiles at this because it means you are ready for truth, no matter how it arrives. As this phase completes, signs of completion will appear subtly. You may feel relief without knowing why. You may stop replaying scenarios that once consumed your thoughts. You may feel less triggered by silence and more comfortable with the unknown. These are not signs of detachment. They are signs of healing. Archangel Michael assures you that nothing meaningful is being taken from you. What is leaving was never meant to define you. What remains will support your growth rather than challenge your worth. And what returns, if it does, will come with a different energy, one that does not require you to shrink or wait in uncertainty. Stay present. Stay honest with yourself. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right where clarity begins to replace confusion. And as this unfolds, you will recognize the moment when truth no longer needs explanation because it feels undeniable. Remain attentive, because what comes next reveals how heaven confirms completion, and how you will know when the warning has fully served its purpose. My beloved one, Archangel Michael now brings your attention to the moment when movement turns into momentum. This is where many people grow restless, because the external world does not always reflect the internal progress that has already taken place. Yet heaven measures differently. What looks slow to the eye is often precise in the spirit. Your person has crossed the point of return internally, even if outward circumstances have not fully caught up yet. Archangel Michael reveals that after identity is confronted and truth is integrated, there is a season of alignment testing. This is when choices become consistent, not dramatic, not loud, but steady. Your person is learning how to live without the crutches they once depended on. Old validation patterns no longer satisfy them. Distractions no longer work the way they used to. What once numbed discomfort now feels empty. This is how you know the change is real. During this phase, you may notice a shift in how you perceive them as well. The emotional fog that once surrounded your thoughts begins to lift. You are no longer guessing as much. You are no longer interpreting every silence as a message. Instead, you are watching behavior speak for itself. Archangel Michael says this is discernment maturing. You are learning to trust what is shown, not what is promised. This stage also brings emotional honesty to the surface, not always through words but through absence of pretense. Your person may stop over-explaining. They may stop defending choices that are no longer up for negotiation. This is not coldness. This is clarity. When a soul knows its direction, it no longer needs permission to walk it. For you, this phase is about reinforcement. Reinforcement of boundaries. Reinforcement of self-worth. Reinforcement of faith. You are being reminded that you do not need to chase answers that are still forming. You do not need to prove your value to someone who is still learning how to stand in theirs. Archangel Michael says patience here is not waiting in uncertainty. It is waiting in confidence. Here is also a subtle but important lesson unfolding. Not every shift requires a reaction. Some changes are meant to be observed quietly. You are being trained not to respond impulsively, not to fill silence with assumptions, and not to negotiate your peace for reassurance. This training is preparing you for the next level of connection in your life, whether with this person or beyond them. Archangel Michael wants to speak directly to your heart now. The warning you received earlier was not to create fear, but to remove illusion. Illusion thrives in uncertainty. Truth thrives in observation. As you watch without forcing, clarity continues to sharpen. And as clarity sharpens, your emotional footing becomes stronger. Before this message goes further, allow yourself to engage here. If this resonates with what you are experiencing, let your presence be known. Like this message so it reaches others who are navigating similar shifts. Share it with someone who has been feeling this quiet but undeniable change. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing discernment over emotional reaction. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now and stay connected, because these messages are unfolding in divine sequence, and what comes next builds directly on what is being revealed now. Hold on, because the next revelation brings a deeper understanding of timing. And once you hear it, the waiting you've been struggling with will begin to make sense in a completely new way. Archangel Michael now turns your attention to divine timing itself. He says timing is not about delay or denial. It is about readiness. Readiness of character. Readiness of perception. Readiness of alignment. If certain outcomes had arrived earlier, they would have collapsed under emotional immaturity or unmet expectations. What is being built now requires stability, not urgency. You are also being shown that your growth has quietly outpaced your pain. Situations that once would have triggered anxiety now only cause reflection. Conversations that once would have consumed your thoughts now pass without attachment. This is evidence that healing has taken root. And Archangel Michael affirms that healing is not the absence of feeling, it is the presence of self-trust. As this part of the journey unfolds, resist the urge to measure progress by speed. Measure it by consistency. Measure it by peace. Measure it by how little you feel the need to explain yourself anymore. These are the signs that alignment is happening, even when the path ahead is still forming. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with a calm authority that settles the soul. He says this is the phase where many misunderstand what waiting truly means. Waiting is not standing still. Waiting is not pausing your life. Waiting is alignment happening quietly while the outer world catches up. And right now, alignment is advancing faster than you realize, even though nothing looks dramatic on the surface. Archangel Michael reveals that divine timing announces itself differently than human expectation. It does not rush in with noise. It does not beg for attention. It arrives with certainty. You will not feel frantic when it comes. You will feel settled. This is why the uneasiness you once felt have been replaced with a strange calm. That calm is not indifference. It is readiness. Your person is now in the phase where consistency is being established. Not perfection, but consistency. Their choices are beginning to align with their convictions. Their words are slowly matching their actions. They are learning that integrity is not something you declare once, but something you live daily. Archangel Michael says this is where many fall back into old cycles, but your person has moved beyond that point internally. The cost of returning is now higher than the cost of continuing forward. You may notice that during this time, communication feels different. Less emotional intensity. Less confusion. Less drama. This is not because connection has weakened. It is because emotional chaos is no longer needed to sustain attention. When truth becomes central, it does not need volume to be felt. It carries weight quietly. For you, this stage is about embodiment. You are no longer just understanding lessons intellectually. You are living them. You are choosing peace without needing permission. You are honoring your intuition without apologizing for it. You are trusting your discernment even when answers are incomplete. Archangel Michael says this is evidence that you have stepped into a higher level of spiritual maturity. Here is something else being released now. Old fears tied to abandonment are losing their power. Not because you are guaranteed a specific outcome, but because you are no longer defining your security by someone else's decisions. This is freedom, and freedom changes how outcomes arrive. When attachment loosens, truth can move more directly. Archangel Michael also shows that this is the moment when divine confirmation begins to appear in subtle ways. Not through grand signs, but through inner assurance. You may find yourself no longer rehearsing conversations in your mind. You may stop checking for signals. You may feel less urgency to know where you stand. These are not signs of disengagement. They are signs of trust forming within you. Your person, meanwhile, is facing the final refinement of this transition. They are being shown that the future they are stepping into requires responsibility, not just courage. It requires accountability, not just desire. And they are choosing to meet that requirement. This is why progress may feel slow. Depth takes time. Archangel Michael wants you to hear this clearly. The warning you received earlier was not to brace you for disappointment. It was to prepare you for discernment. Discernment allows you to recognize truth when it arrives without forcing it to look a certain way. And this discernment is now active within you. You are also learning when not to act. Silence is no longer uncomfortable. Distance is no longer threatening. You are able to hold space without filling it with anxiety. This ability marks a turning point. Many relationships never survive this stage because one or both parties cannot tolerate the absence of control. But you are learning that control was never safety. Trust is. Archangel Michael reassures you that nothing is being withheld out of cruelty or neglect. What is unfolding in order. Step by step. Layer by layer. The structure being built now must support what comes next, or it will collapse under pressure. Heaven does not rush what must last. As this phase completes, you will begin to notice a shift in how you relate to time itself. Days will feel less heavy. Waiting will feel less personal. You will realize that your life has not been on hold. Growth has been happening quietly, steadily, faithfully. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now unveils the phase where alignment no longer hides beneath the surface. This is the moment when internal decisions begin to shape external reality. What was once sensed only in the spirit now starts to leave fingerprints in the physical world. And this is why your intuition has been unusually alert. You are not imagining the shift. You are perceiving it. Archangel Michael says the stage often arrives quietly, without announcement. There is no dramatic signal that declares, "Now everything changes." Instead, clarity arrives through consistency, through patterns stabilizing, through emotional turbulence settling into calm certainty. Your person is entering this phase now. The walking away has already happened in their heart. The future they chose is beginning to organize itself around that decision. You may notice signs that feel small but meaningful. Responsibilities being taken more seriously. Conversations becoming more intentional. Avoidance patterns disappearing. These are not random improvements. They are evidence that alignment is anchoring. Archangel Michael says, when a soul truly commits to truth, life responds by rearranging itself to support that truth. For you, this phase is about recognition rather than reaction. You are not meant to rush toward anything. You are meant to observe what remains consistent without your effort. What is real will not require you to chase it, fix it, or interpret it endlessly. Reality begins to speak plainly when alignment is present. There is also a deeper emotional release happening within you now. The heaviness you once carried for your person is lifting. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped carrying what was never yours to hold. Archangel Michael says compassion without self-sacrifice is wisdom. You are learning that distinction. This stage also brings a refining of desire. You are no longer wishing for outcomes that require you to compromise your peace. You are no longer attracted to uncertainty disguised as passion. You are craving truth that feels steady, not intoxicating. This shift within you is not accidental. It is preparation. Archangel Michael reveals that when alignment becomes visible, it also becomes accountable. This means that what comes next cannot hide behind confusion. If paths are meant to align, they will do so with clarity and mutual presence. If paths are meant to diverge, they will separate without chaos or unanswered questions. Either way, ambiguity loses its grip. You may also feel a sense of emotional readiness you did not have before. Readiness not to force connection, but to respond honestly if connection presents itself. Readiness not to chase answers, but to receive truth without fear. This readiness is the result of growth, not waiting. Archangel Michael wants you to know that the warning issued earlier has now done its work. It slowed you down when you might have rushed. It protected you from reacting out of old wounds. It gave you time to strengthen discernment. And now, discernment is guiding you more than emotion ever did. There is a quiet confidence settling in your spirit. You are less afraid of outcomes and more committed to alignment. You trust yourself in a way you did not before. And this trust changes how everything unfolds from here. As this phase completes, you will notice that you no longer need constant reassurance. You will know when something is real because it brings peace, not pressure. You will know when something is aligned because it does not require you to abandon yourself. This knowing is your confirmation. Type "I stand in divine alignment" in the comments if you feel this truth anchoring in your spirit. Blessing code 2211 is now activated over your life. And now, let this message flow naturally into action. As alignment becomes visible and truth stands without confusion, I feel led to speak to those who recognize the weight of this moment. When you support this mission through Super Thanks membership, or the PayPal donation link in the description, you are sowing into a living work of God that reaches souls at the exact moment they need clarity and protection. The Lord is saying that what you release now becomes seed in fertile ground, producing light where darkness was trying to settle. This is not a casual offering. This is a prophetic response to what you have just received. I declare that every giver in this moment will experience stability, discernment, and peace multiplying in their own life. Act now, and let heaven witness your obedience as part of this divine unfolding. Beloved soul, Archangel Michael now speaks from a place of completion and foresight. He says this is the phase where many finally understand why everything had to unfold the way it did. What once felt delayed now feels deliberate. What once felt confusing now feels protective. You are standing at the edge of comprehension, where hindsight begins to reveal divine intelligence rather than human error. Archangel Michael reveals that after alignment becomes visible, there is a brief but powerful season of confirmation. This is not confirmation through words or promises, but through inner knowing. You begin to recognize truth without needing proof. You sense stability without needing reassurance. And most importantly, you no longer feel the need to convince yourself of outcomes. They either resonate deeply or they fall flat, and you are finally at peace with that distinction. Your person, at this stage, is no longer battling internally about whether they made the right decision. That battle has ended. Now they are learning how to live with integrity in what they chose. This is where responsibility replaces emotion, where consistency replaces intensity, where presence replaces performance. Archangel Michael says this is the mark of real transformation. Emotional drama fades and character begins to speak. You may notice that the energy between you and your person feels different now, even if nothing has been openly addressed. There is less tension, less pull, less confusion. This does not mean distance has increased. It means illusion has dissolved. You are no longer relating through projection or expectation. You are sensing reality as it is, not as you hoped or feared it might be. For you, this phase brings a deep internal settling. The part of you that once waited anxiously for clarity is now quiet. You are no longer checking signs constantly or interpreting every moment. You trust yourself. You trust timing. And most importantly, you trust that you will be okay regardless of how the story resolves. This trust is not indifference. It is strength. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize how far you have come. There was a time when uncertainty felt unbearable, when silence triggered fear, when not knowing felt like rejection. But now, uncertainty feels spacious, silence feels neutral, and not knowing feels temporary rather than threatening. This shift did not happen overnight. It was forged through surrender. Here is also an important truth being revealed about closure. Closure does not always come through conversation. Sometimes closure comes through understanding, through acceptance, through the quiet realization that you no longer need answers to move forward. Archangel Michael says this is where many people finally release the past without bitterness. You are also being shown that whatever unfolds next will not destabilize you. If connection deepens, you will enter it with clarity rather than longing. If separation finalizes, you will accept it with peace rather than grief. This emotional stability is not resignation. It is readiness. Archangel Michael emphasizes that divine order has now replaced emotional chaos. What once felt unpredictable is now governed by truth. And truth does not rush. It reveals itself steadily. You will not miss what is meant for you in this stage. You will recognize it because it will not require you to abandon your center. As this phase continues, you may find yourself less focused on your person and more focused on your own life, your goals, your peace, your direction. This is not avoidance. It is alignment. When you are aligned, you do not orbit around uncertainty. You stand firmly in your own orbit. There is also a sense of dignity returning to your emotional world. You are no longer bargaining internally. You are no longer trying to earn outcomes. You are allowing life to meet you where you are, not where fear once placed you. Archangel Michael says this dignity is sacred, protected. This is the stage where the story no longer feels unfinished. Even if the final chapter has not fully revealed itself, you are no longer anxious about it. You trust that whatever remains will arrive in truth, not confusion. And that trust is the greatest confirmation of all. Hold on, because what comes next brings everything together. This is where meaning replaces mystery, and the warning you received finally reveals its full purpose. You will want to stay with this, because the final understanding changes how you see not just this situation, but your entire journey forward. Beloved one, Archangel Michael now speaks with a tone of grounding and instruction, because this stage is about integration into daily life. It is one thing to understand a message spiritually, and another thing to live it practically. The warning has been heard. Alignment has taken place. Clarity has settled. And now comes embodiment. This is where truth becomes routine, not revelation. Archangel Michael reveals that when a season truly shifts, it does not announce itself with fireworks. It settles into your habits, your reactions, and your choices. You begin to respond differently without forcing it. You stop revisiting conversations that no longer matter. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding. This is not withdrawal. This is wisdom becoming natural. Your person, in this phase, is no longer defined by the act of walking away. The chapter is closing. They are now being defined by how they build forward. Their focus is turning toward sustainability, toward creating a future that does not collapse under pressure. This is why you may sense less emotional intensity from them. Intensity was part of transition. Stability is part of alignment. Archangel Michael wants you to understand that emotional quiet does not mean emotional absence. It means the nervous system is no longer in survival mode. It means choices are no longer fueled by fear or urgency. This is healthy, and even if it feels unfamiliar, it is far more reliable than chaos disguised as passion. For you, this stage is about living without waiting for confirmation. You are no longer pausing your joy, your plans, or your peace until someone else decides something. You are moving forward in your own life with intention. Not to provoke, not to prove, but because you are finally free to do so. Archangel Michael says this is exactly what alignment produces. Forward motion without resentment. There is also an invitation here to remain connected to messages that keep you grounded in truth. If this word has been guiding you, strengthening you, and bringing clarity to your spirit, allow yourself to engage with it actively. Like this message so it can reach others who are standing where you once stood. Share it with someone who needs reassurance that clarity does come. Leave a comment declaring that you are choosing alignment over anxiety. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now and stay connected, because these messages are not random. They are unfolding in divine order. Archangel Michael also highlights something important about self-trust. You are no longer asking others to validate what you already know. You are no longer second-guessing your intuition. When something feels off, you acknowledge it, When something feels aligned, you allow it. This is not rigidity. This is discernment mature. You may notice that people around you respond differently now. Some may respect your boundaries more. Others may feel uncomfortable with your calm. This is normal. Not everyone benefits when you stop over-explaining and start standing firmly. Archangel Michael says, do not interpret discomfort as conflict. Sometimes it is simply adjustment. This stage also invites consistency and faith. Not emotional highs, but steady trust. Not constant seeking, but grounded knowing. You are learning that spiritual maturity is not about always receiving new words, but about living the truth you already receive. And you are doing that now, more than you realize. There is also a release happening around expectations. You are no longer demanding that life unfold a certain way to feel secure. You are secure first, and from that place, you allow life to meet you. This reversal changes everything. When security comes from within, outcomes lose their power to destabilize you. Archangel Michael assures you that nothing from this point forward will catch you off guard the way it once did. You may be surprised, but you will not be shaken. You may be challenged, but you will not be confused. This is the fruit of the warning you received. It prepared you not just for this moment, but for what comes next. Remain present, because the final revelations are approaching. What Archangel Michael reveals next brings the entire message into full completion, showing you why this warning was timed exactly as it was, and how it positions you for what is about to open before you. Beloved child, Archangel Michael now speaks with a sense of final preparation. This is the stage just before full manifestation, where understanding settles so deeply that it no longer needs reinforcement. You are not waiting anymore. You are standing ready. Ready does not mean knowing every detail. Ready means being anchored enough that whatever unfolds will not pull you out of alignment. Archangel Michael reveals that many people mistake this phase for emptiness. They feel a quiet where there used to be emotional noise and assume something is missing. But this quiet is not absence. It is space. Space created after clutter has been cleared. Space where truth can finally enter without resistance. This is where you are now. Your person is also approaching a point of internal finality. Not an ending filled with drama, but a conclusion rooted in acceptance. They are no longer asking themselves who they should be for others. They are asking who they must be to live honestly. That shift changes everything. When a soul answers that question sincerely, life rearranges without force. You may sense that conversations, if they occur, feel different now. There is less need to revisit the past. Less desire to explain motivations, less emotional charge around what was once painful. This is not emotional numbness. It is emotional resolution forming quietly. Archangel Michael says resolution often arrives before explanation. For you, this stage is about honoring your own evolution. You are no longer the version of yourself that first felt the warning. You have integrated it. You have grown through it. You have allowed it to refine rather than harden you. This is important, because what comes next requires this level of emotional steadiness. Archangel Michael wants you to recognize that your nervous system has healed more than you think. You are not bracing for impact anymore. You are not anticipating disappointment. You are open without being exposed. Calm without being detached. This balance is rare, and it is earned. There is also a truth being revealed about endings and beginnings. They are not opposites. They are partners. What ended was not meant to follow you forward. What begins will not resemble what you lost. And this is intentional. Heaven does not recycle lessons once they are learned. You may notice that your desires are simpler now, not smaller, but clearer. You want peace more than intensity, honesty more than chemistry, stability more than suspense. These desires are not signs of settling. They are signs of alignment. Archangel Michael affirms that aligned desires are always met, though not always in familiar forms. This phase also marks the release of emotional timelines. You are no longer asking when things will happen. You are asking how you will show up when they do. This shift moves you from passive waiting into active readiness. And readiness is powerful. Your person, whether they re-enter your path or not, will now meet you at a different level if they do. They cannot approach you with confusion anymore. They cannot offer half-truths and expect you to interpret them generously. You have changed. Your standards have changed. And this change protects you. Archangel Michael emphasizes that whatever unfolds next will be clean. Clean in communication. Clean in intention. Clean in outcome. And no lingering questions. No emotional residue. No sense of unfinished business. This is how you will know the season has truly closed and a new one has begun. You are not losing anything in this transition. You are shedding what could not support your future. And what is ahead will not require you to abandon the clarity you now carry. That clarity is your foundation. As this part draws to a close, allow yourself to rest in this understanding. You do not need to anticipate the final moment. It is approaching naturally. And when it arrives, it will feel less like a surprise and more like recognition. Stay present, because the final message completes the circle. This is where Archangel Michael reveals why the warning came when it did, and how it has positioned you not just for resolution, but for blessing beyond what you expected. My beloved child, Archangel Michael now stands before you with the fullness of this message complete. What began as a warning now reveals itself as protection, preparation, and positioning. You were never meant to fear the words. You have been warned. You were meant to be strengthened by them. This final unfolding is not about what could have gone wrong, but about what has been divinely secured. Archangel Michael says the reason this message came when it did is because you were approaching a turning point without realizing it. Had you entered it unaware, you might have interpreted necessary separation as rejection, divine silence as abandonment, and transformation as loss. The warning was heaven's way of slowing you down long enough to see clearly. And because you listened, you did not fracture. You matured. Now, everything that needed to be revealed had been revealed. Everything that needed to fall has fallen. Everything that needed to be clarified has been clarified within you. The story no longer holds emotional power over you, because you are no longer seeking an ending to feel whole. You already are. Your person's journey, whether it continues alongside yours or completes on a separate path, has served its purpose in your life. Not to break you, not to confuse you, but to awaken discernment, self-respect, and spiritual authority within you. Archangel Michael says you have graduated from the lesson, and when a lesson is completed, it cannot repeat itself in the same way again. There is a peace resting on you now that did not exist before, not because circumstances are perfect, but because your identity is no longer entangled with uncertainty. You know who you are. You know what you deserve. You know what alignment feels like in your body and spirit. This knowing is irreversible. Archangel Michael also declares that from this point forward, your life will respond differently to you. You will not attract what you tolerated before. You will not entertain what once drained you. You will not chase what is meant to meet you in clarity. This is not pride. This is order. And hear this clearly. Whatever future unfolds from here will not require warnings like this one, because you now recognize misalignment early. You listen sooner. You trust yourself faster. You walk away without guilt when truth demands it. This is growth that protects generations. If connection is restored, it will be restored on truth, not hope. If something new enters, it will come with peace, not suspense. If nothing external changes immediately, you will still move forward whole, focused, and unafraid. Archangel Michael affirms that all three outcomes are victory. This is where the message completes its circle. The warning was not about danger ahead. It was about destiny approaching. And destiny requires awareness. You were made aware. And because of that, you stand ready. Type "I am sealed in truth" in the comments if you receive this completion in your spirit. Blessing code 8881 is now released and activated over your life. And now, as this message comes to rest, I speak directly to those who feel the weight and responsibility of what they have received. This word did not come by accident, and its reach does not end with you. When you give through super thanks, membership, or the PayPal donation link placed in the description, you are sowing into a divine assignment that rescues others at the exact moment confusion could have overtaken them. The Lord is saying that every seed released here becomes fire on another altar, light in another dark place, clarity for another weary soul. This is a prophetic act, not a passive offering. Those who obey now will see increase, protection, and peace follow them into the next season. Act with authority. Support this mission now, and let heaven record your obedience as part of this completed work.